right, guys, we're back for part 2. Okay, so talk about what happens when your product that you just spent $50,000 to do all that research, and you ship it in, and you bring it over into the U.S. and you start selling it, and then what happens when it starts becoming successful?
So in this hypothetical example that I've seen play out in similar ways, I feel like hundreds of times. What happens is that you have $50,000 invested in this product. You started spending that $50,000 a year ago, or 9 months ago, and you've got the product in your hand now. You went and you bought a new speaker. You went to a manufacturer in India and you bought this Bluetooth speaker, but you made some changes to it. You made it really rugged. You added some carabiners to it, and you have a really awesome design that you pay and a good silicone case for it. You're really proud of this, and it's better than all the ones out there at doing what you set out to do.
Yeah.
So you list it on Amazon. You start selling it. It takes off. It gets 50 positive reviews in the first 3 weeks, and the moment you get 10 5-star reviews, it'll sell 5 times faster than when you had 0. And then when you get 100, it'll sell 50% more than that. I mean, I'm just making these numbers up, but there's definitely this fluidity and these curves that seem to constantly repeat from the seller perspective. And so
things are good.
Things are great. I've almost sold my initial first order, and sales are actually increasing. I might actually run out of stock on these things. And so then what happens is you go to sleep and you feel really good. You wake up the next day and you see that there is someone that's now listing an item.
The exact same product.
They're listing the exact same product on that listing, but it's like $9 cheaper. And you think to yourself, how is that possible? Like I ordered a ton of these things, and I don't think $9 is all my margin, 100% of it. So who would be doing this? And so what you have to do now is this person's going to start collecting sales from that minute they listed it. They're going to have the advantage of all this reputation you've built for this product you've got all this investment in. And the buyer has no idea that someone else is claiming they have the exact same item, right? This has happened to me a dozen times at least. And so what happens is that you go, they don't have my item. This is my private label item. They might have something very similar, but it's not going to have my brand name on it. And so what you have to do is you have to order it. And if it's coming from an e-packet from overseas, or if it's coming, from that seller shipping it, it could take a week, 2 weeks, and then you have to get the product. And as the seller, you may discover it's not even close. It might be a completely different product, or confusingly similar, but obviously not your product.
I've had that happen before. So the goal of the Particl marketplace, and what you're saying, is to resolve some of these issues and some of these friction points to help out the small business.
Correct. So I don't have any hard numbers to back this up, but it's my perspective that this happening has probably crushed hundreds or thousands of sellers, product inventors, that kind of thing.
So what you're saying is that when the Particl marketplace comes out and there's an opportunity for this little guy and the small business sellers and vendors to be able to sell on a marketplace where they don't get crushed by the owner of the platform, or because there is no owner of the Particl
there is no
marketplace.
owner of the platform, etc. Exactly. So it's there's a lot of different ways to look at this, but from the seller perspective, I've personally had my businesses hurt by someone, they call this piggybacking, when somebody shows up out of the blue and lists a confusingly similar but inferior or just altogether different product under.
I've ordered some stuff on Amazon before, or not just Amazon, we keep saying Amazon, but there's other vendors that do the same thing too, where the picture of the product looks the same,
correct,
but when you actually receive it, it's not the same product.
It's not the same.
It's a different color, it's longer, it's bigger, it's made out of wood instead of plastic, or plastic instead of metal.
Correct. I've actually done, you have to do what they call a test buy. So if someone shows up on my listing, and especially if it's a private label listing. Now, if you're buying generic Legos from a manufacturer and you don't control the brand they're selling them under, then yes, the manufacturer itself or someone else may show up and undercut you. However, if you're selling it as a private label, and someone shows up listing against you and it's not you, chances are they're a fraudulent seller, and they're taking advantage of the fact that they're going to be able to continue selling and undercutting you, effectively stealing your revenue while also ruining your reputation for that product. And they could be getting 80% of the sales on your item for weeks before Amazon Resolutions will eventually investigate this themselves by presumably sending somebody on the floor and actually grabbing this other product and doing, a visual comparison to verify if it's the same item. And I've heard some sellers claim that days and weeks went by before, and they had lost tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue, while also potentially irreparably having the star rating of that item be damaged due to hundreds or thousands of customers getting a product not as advertised, but not understanding that they were buying it from a piggybacker.
Yeah.
That was utilizing the fact that they were able to see how successful you were being.
Yeah.
And so if nothing else, then not having the individual items, individual sales rank publicly displayable, it's going to add this multifaceted layer of insulation for small and medium-sized, in my opinion, inventors and resellers. And in my opinion, it's these smaller companies that can kind of asymmetrically drive innovation. Okay. If you think, if you're this giant factory, you're only going to be approaching a new product from the perspective of what can I produce that is effortless for me to create with my existing infrastructure.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see if I got this picture here. So in a privacy-based marketplace, you as a seller can produce a great quality product, and others would not be able to know that it is a successful product to go and copycat it. Is that
so?
Or I'm basically trying to understand what mechanisms in the privacy marketplace now make this a lot better.
So, my opinion is that the sales data for an individual listing not being public is the single biggest thing. Now, with this giant Equifax hack that just happened, that's a big deal. And I'm sure I was compromised. Probably all of us were.
I changed a few of my emails, and I had to update a few things just in case.
It's incredibly scary. And so, I'm not a developer, and I don't know what type of final data will be required from buyers and sellers for verification. But what I do know is that even with some type of rudimentary reputation system in place, it can enable, you own your listing on Particl, from my understanding of how the architecture is being created. On Amazon, for example, Amazon owns the listing, which is why you or somebody else, a fraudulent seller, can show up and start competing with you under your own product
that
listing.
always seemed weird to me, how you go and you read the reviews on one product, and the reviews don't even match the product that's being listed.
Correct.
So just weird things like that.
So
but that explains a lot of it right there. So so basically you have a very strong investment thesis for why a privacy-centric marketplace is so valuable.
So,
and it's not just Particl's marketplace, but any private marketplace.
I'm sitting in the spot because I am definitely extremely passionate and excied.
Yeah, I
about
can see that.
about where
that passion is radiating out to us, man.
I cannot say that I know everything about all the existing platforms that are out there.
Yeah.
There is definitely a lot of talent out there in the space now, and I've looked at OpenBazaar. I've seen BitBay. There's some really good programming happening, like with BitBay, for example. It's I think it's underrated. But for me personally, coming from a bit of like an activist, a bit of an investor, and also having had these experiences trying to run a successful product design, manufacturing business, and or just simply trying to source products that I think should be more popular and trying to resell them under my own brands. I personally view the Particl marketplace as having kind of almost like the trifecta of all the features that I personally think would have been game changer for an absolute game changer, and probably changed kind of the course of consumer product design if it had been out previously. Because as it stands right now, there are inventors, this is mostly my own opinion, but I have many friends that feel similarly. But there are people at hacker spaces and like co-development spaces all over this country that have ideas that are probably really good and worth having, but they have no idea
how to get it out there,
to get it to market without losing it entirely. Because getting a design patent is fairly easy. Getting brand patents and copyrights, that's pretty easy. But getting a functional patent, for a new novel function, it's almost impossible. And so it's very difficult to invent a completely new type of item or device or service, but it's orders of magnitude easier to continue refining or evolving what already exists. So it doesn't matter, in my opinion, it does not matter how good I can design a new cell phone case to make it the best cell phone case in the world. The reality is that outside of very specific features and very broad stylistic attributes, I cannot protect it. And so I can only comprehend. I can't even imagine what kinds of potentially, lifestyle changing, items or services could exist that may never see the light of day, because these small businesses, these product developers they're so burned and they don't really know what to do. Your only option is to hit the ground running so hard. You can, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to own the space so fully that you can make the return back that you need to justify it before
anybody jumps onto it, right?
Before anyone else can jump onto it. And, as a small or medium fry, I can't comprehend how to do that. And so what I see happening with Particl, and, I can talk about.
Well, you talked about you mentioned the trifecta. So what are the three key items in this trifecta that make this the platform that you see will make a huge difference for you?
Okay, so I think that. Okay, this is a huge answer. So having the platform be currency agnostic. Okay. Massive. Currency agnostic. Okay. Everyone. It's so hard to describe, but everyone gets fixated on a token. They get the Ethereum, it's $300, or whatever, right? They get fixated on the actual token, and I understand why. It's because the tokens are ascribed a value through exchanges, et cetera, et cetera. But a Particl token, $7 right now, plus minus. It fluctuates. But the value of the Particl token is completely irrelevant to the functions that the marketplace would bring to sellers, and that's primarily my focus.
Yeah, because my understanding is that the Particl marketplace is probably one of the first privacy-centric marketplace that I know of. That is, it will accept any token.
Correct.
Not just the Particl token.
Correct.
Because when I first researched it, I thought that it only accepts Particl tokens, but it accepts any tokens once it comes out.
So, this is just me speaking from my own personal perspective. This is not at all meant to be reflective of where I believe or where I perceive development to be heading. However, to be able to bring basically any, let's say, major cryptocurrency or major token of value inside the space right now, and to seamlessly bring it into this Particl marketplace, the value of Particl or the Particl conversion may eventually be just invisible to the buyers and sellers. What people might do is they might just if the developers can add features like this in the future, they might just peg their Particl marketplace to fiat, to USD, for example. and they'll just bring in whatever crypto they have at whatever value it is, and they're only going to see they're bringing in Bitcoin or LTC or XMR, and they're buying goods and services at USD prices, and all of the conversions are happening either atomically or through some kind of a shapeshift, et cetera, behind
in
the scenes.
background, so that customers never even see it.
And so exactly, and so in one of the Particle investor videos, you had mentioned, why not just develop this platform, outside of, why not develop this platform on a previous existing token? And I was thinking about that, and the Particle token itself gives the Particle core developers and the Particle Foundation the ability to actually control like the core functionality, the speed, the reliability, the security of the marketplace transactions. So I view a Particle token as like the needed fuel to ensure that this decentralized, private transaction actually happens, but the value of the token itself is of virtually no consequence to buying and to the transaction. And of course, as an investor, this gets me excited because this means that the value of the Particle token could scale in tremendous ways and still be, if Particle was, several hundred USD and Bitcoin tanked, it's still irrelevant because you're still getting the same value, for your crypto you're bringing into the ecosystem. So currency agnosticism, I think, is gigantic. Yeah. And then
agnostic simply means neutral.
Correct.
Just for the audience that's outside the US.
Yep.
Okay.
So ideally, my vision for Particle, which I would like to see happen, and I'll push for as a passionate community member, would be to accept the majority of major cryptos that were possible at the earliest convenience. I understand that probably a lot of testing will have to happen before we get to that point, but I'm no problem waiting. So currency, so being currency agnostic. The second one is that there is going to be some level of privacy for the seller itself. Now, you could do whole video series from like the buyer perspective of what its benefits of having. It'd be very difficult for someone to hack your Amazon account and go and see all the items you've purchased, and then just et cetera, et cetera. So the privacy component and having the blockchain and the marketplace either not collect or not have a way to permanently store specific types of transactional data, particularly sales rank, for example, that kind of thing. I think that adds this veil of protection to the sellers, and obviously, large profitable sellers will probably be highly represented on the Particle platform, and some reputation system may say this seller is obviously successful and these products seem to be selling well, but I think that a great majority of the predatory, piggybackers aren't going to operate on a hunch. Yeah. They're going to want to see the data. They're going to want to know that they can get in and get out and steal profit from you before you can react. And if they're denied some of those basic features, then I think it's gonna encourage a more broad level of competition among sellers. So the privacy component, which I am actually unaware that any other marketplace that's in development or existing is going to have to the degree that I believe Particle will. Right. Like I said, this is just my own perception. And the third one is scale. Now, I read in 2014, Amazon was doing like 100,000 cells a minute during like the Black Friday crush a couple years ago. Now that number could be completely fictitious. I had read it somewhere and I said, "Oh, that sounds incredible."
The number it is, it's huge.
It's a giant number, and so if the Particle marketplace gets any level of adoption, which I perceive it will, I anticipate it to be very niche, very specific industries, probably actually centered on contracts and services at first, freelance programmers and artists, that stand by their work, that are willing to do the escrow system. We've got a show going on here, guys.
We got these street performers performing in front of us, guys.
I know, it's pretty good. It's distracting.
That's what all the people behind us are watching. Okay, well,
so
let's. Okay, what else?
Scale. So
yeah, scale.
I can talk about that just real fast. So, Amazon has billions of dollars of infrastructure,
right?
And who knows how much computing horsepower that makes that network fast.
They're fascinated by what you're saying about the particle marketplace.
I know, right?
They're cheering for you.
Everyone's got to turn the video off and just listen to the audio. Yeah. So, because the particle marketplace has a tokenized fuel, the fuel is tokenized,
yeah,
and that token is a speculative asset, or some type. Or it's some type of asset. What this means, and because some proportion of the fees that are collected from the marketplace transactions, which I think will be quite small. If Amazon's charging 25 or 30%, maybe it's 1% or 0.5% to sell on Particle. Some proportion of that is going to go to the people that are holding and staking the token, keeping more nodes online and keeping the network fast. And so the more people are using the marketplace, I perceive the higher the value for the token to be, which means there'll be more aggressive push to acquire this asset just for interest alone. They have no desire, they don't even care about why, they just know that the Particle token is generating 19% APR and that it went up 9% every month for the last 6 months. So they're just going to buy that and they're going to sit on it, they're going to stake. And you've talked a lot about staking and proof of work.
We'll do that in a separate video so that it doesn't.
And so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tweaking necessary to eventually find the right formula. However, it's my opinion that the speculative asset of the fuel for the marketplace, which ultimately will support the speed and the smoothness of the user interface, is going to enable it to scale. So we will have currency agnosticism, so we'll accept a wide variety of currencies. We'll have some degree of seller and buyer privacy, which I think is going to be the single biggest aspect of it. And then we're also going to have the ability for the marketplace to have a massive fiscal incentive as it grows for people to ensure it has the horsepower that it needs, decentralized, distributed all over the world, so that way when you open up the app on your phone, it's fast. When you go to buy and sell, the transactions are processed fast and smoothly. And so, like I said, lots of tweaking, but there's probably actually 5 reasons why I'm excited about it, but those are 3 giant ones.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. You just got a round of applause for that. I don't know if it's for the particle marketplace you just spoke of, or
it's absolutely,
the street performers.
It's absolutely.
But anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys, and thanks for sharing that with us. And we'll have you back, talk some more about it.
I'd love to.
And thanks for joining us here, also, David. And if you guys want to learn more about this and learn how to make life-changing money in cryptocurrency investing and learn more about stuff like this, follow us at www.cryptocurrency.market/newsletter. And
you're popular right now.
Yeah, they're all clapping for us.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so if you guys are wondering what all these people are clapping for while we are shooting this Particle Marketplace video, let me give you guys a quick glimpse, okay? This is what's been going on in front of us the entire time that we shot the video, okay?
Baby, grow cool.
Do like a wide pan. Look at them.
Yeah, they just showed
All right, so thanks for watching this video, guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.